Starting off this countdown, we have Zone Rogue. Zone Rogue, sometimes called the Red Zone or Zone Rouge, is an area in northeastern France that got destroyed during World War I. After the war, the land was declared 100% damaged with devastating effects on the agriculture. It was said to be impossible to clean, and human life there was said to be impossible. So the French government prohibited anyone from going there. In fact, this area is littered with human and animal remains and millions of unexploded weapons. So it's literally dangerous to go there. All you need to do is be traveling there and you set off an explosive. That would not end well. In our 9th spot, we have Room 39. Room 39 is a top secret room located in North Korea. The whole location is heavily guarded. They don't want anyone getting into this room. In fact, it's said to be one of the most secret places in North Korea, a place that's already so secretive. It was created in the late 1970s. Room 39 is the meeting place for a top secret North Korean party organization. They apparently get up to a number of illegal activities in that room, like counterfeiting, selling and producing drugs, and selling weapons. Apparently, they bring in $500 million to $1 billion per year through these illegal activities. So yeah, no wonder they don't want outsiders inside of this room. Should anyone try to get in? Well, I'm sure you can imagine what would happen. In our 8th spot today, we have Vale do Javari. Located in Brazil in the Amazon, this area is one of the largest indigenous territories in the world. It's home to a number of indigenous tribes. There are said to be 2,000 individuals belonging to at least 14 tribes living there. In fact, they remained uncontacted with until several years ago. But the Brazilian government has banned anyone from going there. It's illegal if you do so. This is because they want to protect the people living there. Any contact with the outside world could be dangerous to these individuals. We could transmit diseases and wipe them out. So in an effort to protect the tribes, it's illegal to visit the area. In our 7th spot, we have the Korean Demilitarized Zone. This is the area that marks the separation between South and North Korea. The only people that reside there are high-ranking officials. It's illegal for anyone else to visit the site. In fact, it's one of the most militarized zones in the world, so why would anyone even want to go there? In fact, they have enough weapons to bombard Seoul with over 10,000 rounds every minute. Now, the North Korean side primarily serves to stop an invasion of North Korea from the south. Up until 1972, over 7,000 Korean soldiers infiltrated North Korea. More than half of them lost their lives. In our 6th spot today, we have Metro 2. Located in Moscow, Russia, there is a secret underground metro system operated by the Russian Ministry of Defense. It's said that this system connects the Moscow Kremlin with the Federal Security Service headquarters. The only problem is, no one knows where it is. That's how secret it is. People know it exists, but they haven't been able to find where it is or how to get in. Either way, you're banned from doing so anyways. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Varosha, Cyprus. Once upon a time in the early 70s, Varosha was a popular tourist attraction. In fact, it was one of the most popular ones in the world. That was until 1974 when Turkey invaded. As a result, all the residents had to flee or else they were killed. They were forcibly removed from their homes and were never allowed to come back. The Turkish military then took control of the whole area, and no one is allowed to enter. In fact, the whole area is now fenced off and under constant supervision. Not only that, but the army patrols have orders to shoot on sight. So people don't even want to take a chance by going even remotely close to there. In our 4th spot, we have Pine Gap. Located deep in the Australian outback is Pine Gap, a top secret military base. In fact, this base has been named Australia's Area 51. That's how mysterious it is there. This base is operated by the Australian government and by the CIA and the NSA. In 2013, it was revealed that the NSA uses this facility to collect internet and telephone records, when originally it was said that this place was just a space research center. Clearly, that was just one big lie. So this place is just a big place for intelligence activities and military operations. What's scary is that it's rumored that this base is home to one of the most terrifying surveillance systems out there, the Echelon. This is the code name given to a very secretive and intense surveillance program. So yeah, anyone caught trespassing, you're in huge trouble. In our third spot, we have Morgan Island. This is another island completely off limits, and that's because it's filled with monkeys. Now you might be thinking, oh, I love monkeys, they're so cute. No, okay? These monkeys are said to be infected by the herpes B virus, but it wasn't always like this. What happened was that the monkeys were originally from Puerto Rico, but then there was a viral outbreak among locals because the monkeys became overpopulated. So they tried to fix this problem by moving the monkeys to Morgan Island. In 1979, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. As a result, the island is off limits for your safety and the safety of the monkeys. Coming in at number 2, we have Mount Weather, aka one of America's best kept secrets. No, I didn't just make that up, that's actually what it's called. This is a secret facility located in Virginia. In fact, for years people were wondering if Mount Weather was actually real. It was just kind of rumored to be a thing. But alas, it is real. Mount Weather is an emergency operations center. They have an underground bunker there, so in case of emergency, they can keep all the government officials there in that bunker. They even have their own police department, fire department, and laws for this place. So we all know if there's an apocalypse, that's where the government will be hiding out. And of course, it's surrounded by armed guards, fences, and razor wires. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Russia's nuclear missile facility. In the Ural Mountains in Russia, there's a top secret town that no one is allowed to visit. This is because this is the place that Russia does their nuclear missile testing. As a result, no one is allowed to go in or even near the vicinity. Again, why would you even want to go anyways? That place is probably incredibly radioactive. It's also believed that around the area, the Russians have a secret bunker complex for the government and or the Russian armed forces.
At number 10, Bohemian Grove. The only way you're getting to this super exclusive club is if you're a very powerful man. Bohemian Grove is a private club for the most powerful men in the US, located on a restricted 2,700-acre campground on Bohemian Ave in Monte Rio, California. Every July, its members travel to the grounds for a 2-week retreat to relax and specifically not network. There is little known about what happens during the retreat. One thing powerful men are good at is keeping things hidden. The club's all-male membership includes many artists, musicians, prominent business leaders, government officials, former presidents, and senior media executives. Members are also allowed to bring guests and even rent out the grounds for its off-season private events. If your interest has been sparked, good luck getting anywhere near Bohemian Grove. It's protected by security year-round, with the club employing ex-military personnel to secure the area. They also utilize high-end equipment like thermal cameras and vibration sensing alarm systems. Some presidents that have visited are George Bush, Richard Nixon, and Ronald Reagan. Basically, there's no chance of getting in unless you have some pretty important friends. Number 9, the Coca-Cola Vault. Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. The corporation was founded in 1892, so the recipe has been around for over 120 years. It definitely has undergone some tweaks since the 1800s, but now it doesn't contain illegal substances, so it really only changed for the better. The secret formula is located inside World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. While you can absolutely visit the museum itself, showcasing the history of the company, the actual vault that holds the formula is off limits. The actual recipe is located inside of a metal box inside of a 6.6-foot high vault, which is then further protected by a barrier, and the entire area has surveillance with armed guards. The door to the vault can only be opened by a keypad with a hand scanner. It sounds a bit extreme to take all these measures over the recipe for Coke, but with the company bringing in over $42 billion in 2022, the extra security makes total sense. I never thought about seeing the formula of Coke, but now that I know it's in a highly guarded fancy safe, I've never wanted to see something more. Number 8, Granite Mountain Records Vault. The world's largest collection of genealogical records lives in a secure vault located quite literally in the mountains near Salt Lake City, Utah. The Granite Mountain Records Vault was built in 1965 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The purpose of the vault is to preserve and protect records of importance to the church, like its vast collection of family history microfilms. This is an extremely secure facility with no public access allowed. What we do know is that it's home to 2.4 million rolls of microfilm containing approximately 3.5 billion images of family history records. records. I guess when the Mormon Church says they're a family-centered faith, they aren't kidding. The church is collecting all of these microfilmed images in order to digitize them and turn them into digital records available through FamilySearch.org. Some people think there is more going on in that facility than we're being told, with conspiracy theories and suspicions surrounding the whole operation. The vault is located under 700 feet of solid mountain stone with 3 tunnels and 4 cross tunnels inside, spanning over 65,000 square feet. They also have reinforced entrance doors that weigh 14 tons each and were said to be able to withstand a nuclear blast. These factors are what really led people to being skeptical of their operations because A, that's a lot of room for converting microfilms, B, that's a lot of security for the names of the deceased, and C, more recent images of the vault seem to show they've expanded the facility to now have 5 entrances instead of 3. Some thoughts surrounding what else is stored there are significant artifacts, ancient relics, or even a bunker. Maybe the expansion is just for expanding operations, but who knows, maybe they really are hiding something else in that vault. At number 7, Area 51. The widely known name refers to that of a highly classified United States Air Force facility located in Nevada, which is highly prohibited to those without authorization. The fact that it's a government facility that is super off limits and highly guarded has led people to famously associate Area 51 with aliens. For decades now, the facility has been the eye of a conspiracy theory storm, with people convinced that aliens and their technology exist behind its walls. Being told you can't go somewhere or that something is a secret only makes you more interested to know about it. There have been many books, TV shows, and even plans online for massive raids trying to get a glimpse of what lies beyond the very prominent warning signs, to no success. Upon looking at Area 51, it appears like the only protection against unwanted guests is the many warning signs, but apparently not a single thing goes unnoticed. Beyond the gates, cameras see every angle, watching everything below. Locals say the base knows every desert tortoise and jackrabbit that hops the fence. No matter how interested you may be, only a select few have access to what goes on there, causing so many theories and speculations. Who knows, maybe it's alien experiments, maybe it's the most mundane, boring work we could ever imagine. Either way, we aren't going to be finding out anytime soon. Number 6, Cheyenne Mountain Complex. It's located at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station, or CMAF, within the Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The CMAF falls under Air Force Base Command and hosts the activities of several tenant units. At the height of the Cold War, the idea of a hardened command center was thought of as a defense against long-range Soviet bombers. The Army Corps of Engineers supervised the excavation of Cheyenne Mountain and the construction of an operational center. The facility became fully operational as the NORAD Combat Operations Center in early 1967. Since it's a big old place for government stuff, Cheyenne Mountain Complex is protected and closed to the public. It's located under 2,000 feet of granite with 6 tunnels, each 3 stories tall. It's also secured against seismic activity and nuclear explosions. So basically, it's pretty high on the list of places I would like to be during a zombie apocalypse. It has 2 main blast doors which are 3.5 feet thick and weigh over 20 tons. These massive doors close in times of emergency and have only been shut once during 9/11. Since this complex is home to so many important operations like a space control center and national warning facility, it's locked and guarded to the nines. That being said, since we know some of what's going on down there, it's far less desirable to visit. At number 5, Tillamook Rock Lighthouse. Located on the northern Oregon coast of the United States, also known as Terrible Tilly or just Tilly, this is one lighthouse that you can't visit. Tilly gained its nickname from the ferocious storms and difficulties facing the lighthouse keepers. Tillamook Rock rises nearly 100 feet from the sea and is located 20 miles south of the mouth of the Columbian River. Building the lighthouse in the first place was rough. The first person hired to take on the project was master mason and lighthouse builder John Trewavis. Unfortunately, John ended up being swept out to sea after falling off the rock before he could get far. After this incident, craftsmen were reluctant to work on the lighthouse, but construction foreman Charles Valentine stepped up with a crew of 8. Once on the rock, the men worked under horrible conditions. One day the wind was so bad it swept away their supply house and left workers stranded for 16 days. After preparing the rock, the construction of Tilly took over 100 days to complete. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse began operations in January 1881. With a starting budget of just $50,000, Tilly cost closer to $125,000 in the end. Duty at Tillamook Rock meant isolation, horrible storms, and hazardous environment. On top of that, supplies sent to the rock were often delayed for days or even weeks. It was decommissioned in 1957 due to the extensive wear and tear. The lighthouse has bounced between a few private owners years since shutting off its light. Even if you wanted to visit Tilly today, you'd have to resort to a helicopter because of the harsh waters. The rock is even off limits to its owners come time for the seabird nesting season. At number 4, Dulce Base. Like Area 51, Dulce Base is the subject of conspiracy theories claiming that a jointly operated human and alien underground facility exists. Apparently, the facility lies under the Archuleta Mesa Mountain on the Colorado-New Mexico border near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. On the surface, Dulce is just your average small town, so small it doesn't even have a single traffic light. According to the bizarre claims, the small town is just the tip of the iceberg. The alleged massive underground facility is said to be home to unimaginable experiments and technologies. For the extreme alien believers, we are all overlooking a high-tech world full of aliens. According to the conspiracy theorists, the Dulce subterranean base is a 7-story compound that houses human-animal hybrids, human-alien hybrids, and extremely advanced technologies. It is possible that it's all made up, but if the government really was experimenting with aliens, it would make sense that they do it under a mountain near a very small town. One thing I find interesting about the Dulce base is that these theories are not new. First claims of the base's existence date all the way back to the 1930s. The rumors of alien intervention didn't start up until the 70s when a former state police trooper named Gabe Valdez documented unexplained cattle mutilations in the area. There have also been claims of UFO sightings and other paranormal activity in the area over the years. Secret aliens or not, it sounds like there's definitely something strange going on in Dulce that I don't want to look any further into. Number 3, Fort Knox. I bet you've heard at least once in your life someone make a reference to something being harder to get into than Fort Knox, and there's a reason for this. Fort Knox is a United States Army installation in Kentucky, south of Louisville. The reason it's so hard to get into Fort Knox is because of the Bullion Depository, a fortified vault located adjacent to the Fort Knox Army Post. It's operated by the United States Mint Police, and it's super well known for its physical security. The depository was built back in 1936 and is operated by the United States Department of the Treasury. The excessive security is in place because it's home to over half the entire country's gold reserves. Early shipments of gold totaling almost 13,000 metric tons were escorted by combat cars to the depository. In the past, it's also been home to other precious items like the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. Fort Knox is so heavily protected and secure that the vicinity is off limits to visitors. Even the president has limitations. In fact, only one president has ever been allowed entry, and that was Franklin Roosevelt back in 1943. Along with the heavy-duty physical barriers and fences, the government pays $5 million annually just for security. Number 2, North Brother Island. This tiny island in New York City is located smack dab in the middle of the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island. It was the site of the infamous Riverside Hospital for quarantinable diseases. If you've ever heard of Typhoid Mary, this is the place where she spent her final days and finally succumbed to her namesake illness in 1938. After World War II, the island was repurposed as housing for veterans and their families. Then it transitioned to being a rehabilitation center for adolescent substance use, which ended up closing in the 60s amid allegations of fraud. After being home to many dark but important facilities, the entire North Brothers Island was closed permanently to the public and became a bird sanctuary. That being said, photographer Christopher Payne was able to go to the island in 2006 after being granted access by the New York City Department of Recreation. The photos he captured of the island are a little haunting, especially with its history of rehab centers and hospitals for the disease. These photos are interesting to see, but do not make me want to visit the abandoned island even if I could. The whole place looks like it's been taken over by, well, birds, and it's crazy that it's so close to the hustle and bustle of the city. Many people have stepped foot on the North Brother Island over the years, but now the only way to get a glimpse is through Payne's photos or if you have wings and a beak. And at number 1, Niihau Island. This island has been privately owned for over 100 years with only an estimated 170 residents. The invite-only island sparked so much interest from travelers across the world due to its extreme exclusivity, commonly referred to as Hawaii's Forbidden Island. It is the westernmost main and 7th largest inhabited island in all of Hawaii. Niihau is also a crucial habitat for some endangered plant species. The island was purchased by Elizabeth St. Clair in 1864 for just $10,000, which would be the equivalent to about $170,000 in 2021. St. Clair purchased it from the Kingdom of Hawaii, and the ownership has has been passed down for generations, currently belonging to her grandsons, the Robinson brothers. The island is off limits to all outsiders unless the brothers Bruce and Keith personally invite you for a visit. The people of Niihau are noted for their remarkable craftsmanship and mainly speak in Hawaiian. The reason they have kept the island off limits to the outside world is due to a promise made to a former Hawaiian king. The promise was to protect the island from the mainland and the rest of the world to maintain the beloved heritage, and that's exactly what they've done. To this day, Niihau has rejected the use of modern technologies and survives without electricity, running water, internet, doors, restaurants, paved roads, or cars. A modern-day ancient civilization. It would be fascinating to see how they do things over on Niihau, but it's nice to know they've kept their promise for so long.
Starting off this countdown, we have Pravčička Brana. Located in the Czech Republic, this is a narrow rock formation and popular tourist attraction. However, the arch has been severely weakened over time due to erosion. Now visitors are no longer allowed to get on top of the arch. You're allowed to go and look at it, but only from afar. They're afraid that the arch will collapse with tourists on it, resulting in a number of casualties. As a result, it's prohibited to go on or near it. In fact, they believe that the arch might collapse very soon. So if you've always wanted to see it, go make a trip now before it's too late. In our 9th spot, we have McDonald's Island, Australia. This is an uninhabited island located in the southern Indian Ocean, and it belongs to Australia. In fact, this island and Heard Island are said to be one of the remotest places on Earth. That's one of the reasons why no one wants to go there. The other reason is that it's part of the IUCN's strict nature reserve. In order to keep the animals on the island safe, the island is closed to any outsiders. The only people allowed to visit the island are researchers, and even they aren't allowed to stay for too long, and they have to follow strict protocols so that they don't disturb the living conditions on the island. In our 8th spot, we have Maya Bay. Located in Thailand, this is another area that visitors are banned from as an attempt to restore the environment there. Basically, in 2000, the movie The Beach, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, was released, and since it was filmed in Maya Bay, the area was soon flooded with tourists. Millions of people visited the site per year. Sadly, the ecosystem greatly suffered from this. So in June of 2018, Thailand closed down the area to help the ecosystem. It remained closed until I believe this year, January. But if the environment is put at risk again, it might be shut down once again. Coming in at number 7, we have Woomera, Australia. This is a military and aerospace center and test range located in South Australia. This area is run by the Royal Australian Air Force, and it's so big that it's roughly the size of North Korea or Pennsylvania. Now, this area is strictly guarded by the Royal Australian Air Force. All we need is for someone to break in and get in the way of weapons testing. That would not be good for anyone. Like I previously mentioned, they own the airspace above, so anyone that tries to fly by or even flies too close to their area will be targeted. And I hope they leave fast enough before facing the consequences. Coming in at number 6 today, we have Plymouth. This area is often referred to as the Pompeii of the Caribbean. Why? Well, in 1996, a volcano erupted, causing a mass evacuation. A few months later, some residents returned, but were welcomed with another eruption. On June 25th, 1997, this eruption killed 19 residents, and it destroyed the island's airport, trapping many others from fleeing. Eventually, this area was evacuated again, but this time, no one wanted to return. Everything was destroyed. In fact, 80% of the town is currently covered in ash. Pictures show homes completely buried with only their roofs sticking out. So now, it's a ghost town. Now, there are some people allowed to visit the island, but the main area of Plymouth are restricted for, obvious safety reasons. Plus, there is a chance that the volcano might erupt again, and no one wants to be near it when that happens. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Fort Knox, Kentucky. This is a heavily guarded government facility / army installation that people don't really know much about, but it's said that it stores a large portion of gold and other valuable items that the US government has in their possession. In fact, this place is famous for being one of the most heavily guarded areas and one of the most restricted places on Earth. It's protected by 30,000 soldiers, so no one has even dared to try and visit. Plus, it's said to have some of the most sophisticated safety features. Moving on to number 4, we have the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. This is an underground base located nearly half a mile under a granite mountain. It's a massive military installation and defense bunker that is run by Air Force Space Command. In the late 1950s, it was used as a command and control center against long-range Soviet bombers. Then in 1967, it was taken over by the Aerospace Defense Command Combat Operations Center. Now, this base is very secure. First off, it's comprised of 6 tunnels. Each tunnel is 3 stories tall. The whole base is secured if a nuclear explosion occurs. In fact, it's protected by a 25-ton blast door. These doors will close within 45 seconds of the blast occurring, so they are really well prepared. In fact, it's said to be one of the most secure locations on the planet. In our 3rd spot, we have Jeannette Island. Located in Russia, this island is believed to be home to a secret Russian military base. Now, you want to know how top secret it is? Well, if you Google this island's coordinates on Google Earth, all you'll see is water, not even land. That's because they had it removed entirely from Google Maps. Before that, the island was just blurred out, so if you try to zoom in, the screen would kind of just go black. As a result, people believe that there's a concealed Russian military base located there, and a substantial one. I mean, the whole thing is wiped completely from Google Maps, so they don't want people knowing that it exists. Coming in at number 2, we have Menwith Hill. Located in the UK, this is the largest electronic monitoring station in the world. Now, if you see it, the area literally looks like a bunch of giant golf balls in a field. They're not, obviously. Each ball has its own antenna system, and it's said to be part of the Echelon system. For those of you who don't know, that is the code name of a very secretive and intense surveillance program. It's said to be one of the most terrifying surveillance systems out there. This site works on behalf of the NSA and is one of the 3 main sites operated by the US. In 2006, it was declared a secret and private zone, and they made it a criminal offense for anyone that tries to trespass. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Uluru. Uluru, otherwise known as Ayers Rock, is a massive sandstone monolith located in Australia. It actually was open to the public, and a number of climbers would scale the rock formation. That was until 2019. That's when it was declared a sacred place to the indigenous people in the area. And people were banned from climbing the rocks. It's said that those who do not obey this rule will be cursed. Also, any disrespectful tourists that visit the site will also be cursed. In fact, tourists who have visited the site and have collected rocks from it as a souvenir have later reported having extreme bad luck. A number of people have actually mailed the rocks back to the site to remove the curse. Starting off this countdown, we have Aksai Chin. This is a region in Asia which is a disputed border between China and India. As a result, some people call it the line of actual control. It separates India-controlled Ladakh from China-controlled Ladakh. Now, this area is only home to military personnel. No outsiders are ever allowed into this region. Only military personnel and high-ranking officials. I don't think anyone has dared to try and go to this area. I mean, why would you? It is said to be quite beautiful with like salt lakes and valleys, but it's also filled with officers and weapons, so... In our 9th spot today, we have the Google data centers. Now, I personally didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently Google has data centers located in 4 continents: North America, South America, Asia, and Europe. These centers store and process all of Google's data. Knowing just how big Google is, this is a huge deal. Photos of the centers show just how intense they are. And of course, these centers are completely off limits to visitors for a number of reasons. First off, we don't need random people wandering in and fooling around with things. Second is to protect Google from any kind of data breach. In our 8th spot today, we have the Queen's bedroom, which is kind of a funny one, not gonna lie. Buckingham Palace is said to have 775 rooms. I don't know anyone that needs that many rooms, but clearly the Queen does. One room that is highly off limits is the Queen's bedroom. Many areas in the palace are actually open for public tours, but never this one. Her bedroom is heavily guarded, but it wasn't always. In 1982, a man named Michael Fagan broke into the Queen's bedroom. In fact, this is said to be one of the greatest security breaches of all times. And Michael did it just so he could win a bet with his friends. Anyways, after that incident, the palace didn't want to take any more chances, so the area is now heavily guarded. In fact, her bedroom is said to be one of the most restricted places on Earth. In our 7th spot today, we had the buffer zone. In 1974, the UN took control of a buffer zone in Cyprus after Turkish troops invaded the area. It created a civil war between the Greek and Turkish residents. So the UN took this buffer zone area to help end the fighting. Now, the areas in the zone are completely abandoned. You got abandoned homes, businesses, stores, even a small airport. It looks like a ghost town, or some say it's a place that will now remain frozen in time. In our 6th spot today, we have the Global Seed Vault. So it seems like our world kind of has a plan if the end of the world does happen. I don't know how reassuring that is, but okay. They still want humanity to survive. So basically, in Norway, on a remote island, there is a 11,000 square foot structure that houses more than 1 million seed samples from places all around the world. Basically, it allows us to preserve crops in case our environment is just completely destroyed. The structure was built to withstand earthquakes, floods, and even nuclear attacks. Now, only the government has access to this place, and they can only go in when they're putting seed samples away. It's considered the final backup of life, so they don't want anyone fooling around there. As a result, it's heavily guarded and off limits. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Mormon Church Vault. Located in Little Cottonwood Canyon outside of Salt Lake City is a vault owned by the Mormon Church. The vault is literally located 600 feet in the Granite Mountain, and it's filled with ancient archives, including family history records. It's said that it holds more than 3.5 billion images on microfilm and digital media. And obviously, they don't want anything to happen to their archives, so there's no public access to the vault. Not only that, but the doors are reinforced so that they're able to withstand a nuclear blast. Moving on to number 4, we have Bangalore Fort, India. This place is said to be the most haunted place in all of India, which is one reason why no one wants to go there. But if you do go there, you're only allowed to go between sunset and sunrise. If you visit any other time, chances are you'll wind up dead or cursed or both. So legend goes that there once was a man named Madho Singh. He was given permission to build this fort by the king under one condition. The fort never cast a shadow over his house. He said that if this happened, the city will perish. Now he obeyed his command and made sure that his fort never did. But Singh's successor ignored this, and he built the walls up higher. In the end, it cast a shadow over his house, and that's when the king's curse started. Now that's one legend. There's also another legend about a princess and a practitioner of black magic that cursed the town, and apparently to this day, it is still cursed. As a result, no foreigners are allowed, and like I said, you can never go there before sunrise and after sunset. According to locals, 3 men decided to stay there after sundown, and things went bad. One of the guys fell into a deep well. Now, he was rescued, but on their way to the hospital, all 3 of them got crushed in a road accident and died. In our 3rd spot today, we have the Forbidden Island. Located in Hawaii, there's an island called Niihau, or the Forbidden Island. And its name rings true. No one is allowed on this island. The only people allowed on the island are the descendants of those who lived there before them on the island. It was purchased in the 1860s, and ever since then, it's been home to one family, and one family only. In fact, the island even looks mysterious. You can't really see it unless you're on a specific beach during sunset, and that's when you can kind of see the island's silhouette. In our 2nd spot, we have Ise Grand Shrine. Located in Japan, this is a very important shrine for the Shinto religion. As a result, only high-ranking officials like priests and imperial family members are allowed to go there. It was originally built to honor the goddess of the sun and universe. In fact, it's said that it was constructed without using a single nail. It was constructed around 2,000 years ago, and since the late 7th century, it has been demolished and rebuilt every 20 years. Every time they do this, it costs $500 million. And that's because every detail has to be replicated. It has to look the exact same. Now they do this because it symbolizes the Shinto concepts of death and rebirth. It also helps to keep the building in great shape because wood has a shorter lifespan than other building materials. This way, it'll never rot. And in our number one spot today, we have Heard Island. There's a big reason as to why Heard Island is off limits to humans. That's because Heard Island is said to be one of the most dangerous places on Earth. It's home to a 9,000 foot tall volcano, which has been active since at least the early 2000s. Not only does it spew lava, but massive glaciers also like to tumble down and can easily kill anything in its path. The wind speeds there average around 20 miles per hour. It has gotten to 200 kilometers per hour, which is considered Category 3 hurricane force. Not only that, but if you did want to go there, it would take you 2 weeks to get there from a boat from Australia. And then you'd be risking your life doing so with the bad sailing weather. So no one really likes to go there.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Snake Island. Well, this island already sounds awful. What's going on here? Snake Island is located 95 miles off the coast of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Is that just a name of an island, or do a bunch of snakes live here? Well, sorry to tell you, both. What happened originally was thousands of years ago, the part of the land that once connected the island to mainland disappeared. The ocean rose up before any of these snakes had time to pack their snake bags, and they were stuck on this island forever. These snakes were stuck on the island decade after decade, so now these stuck snakes are just gonna mate and have more snakes. Now the island's full of snakes. The number of snakes is going up. Higher and higher, it's never stopping. One of the deadliest snakes in the world, the golden lancehead viper, yeah, there's over 4,000 of them on this island. It's horrible. Back from 1902 to the early 1920s, a few brave souls lived there and operated the lighthouse. But according to some local myths, the last lighthouse keeper was swarmed by snakes after he left a window open. Worst thing I've ever heard. Let's move on. Number 9, Surtsey Island. While some islands ban humans, others ban humans and seeds. Yeah, no seeds allowed on Surtsey Island. Leave the work snackies behind, my friend. Surtsey Island is an important one on our list here today, as this island was born in 1963. We got a brand new baby island. This new island emerged from the sea 20 miles off the coast of Iceland, and it took around 4 years for Mother Nature to complete this little passion project. An undersea volcano formed this island over the course of 4 years. Just slowly, just making a new island. That's a long, hot process, so now what? What do you do with a brand new island? Sandals Resort? Disney parks? No and nope. Nobody is allowed on this island. The whole idea of Surtsey Island, which I love, is that scientists are trying to study how ecosystems can form themselves without the involvement of us humans. Scientists around the world have all gathered around to do nothing about this island. They're just gonna watch. Only a select few can enter this island, and right before they clock in, they're checked head to toe to make sure they don't have any seeds. 0 seeds. Why? Oh, because scientists found a tomato growing and they were scratching their heads. Where did this come from? How, out of nowhere, how could it be? They were stumped until they found out somebody went number 2 in that same spot long before. Yeah, welcome to Surtsey Island. Hold it. Better not take a shit here or you're fired, buddy. Number 8, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe, one of the most forbidden islands on the world. We're talking about it, let's do it. Located in the Bay of Bengal, North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers away from India, and while most islands are shrinking, this one is actually growing. It grew back in 2004 phenomenally. Back in 2004, the island lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the west and south sides gained an extra kilometer. The inhabitants on North Sentinel Island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world. You've probably heard about them or seen the thumbnail at some point. They have apparently been around for thousands of years, but there's no sign of agriculture or even fire. Yet still, this tribe has somehow continued to thrive. If we try and get close, they will attack us. After the 2004 tsunami, the Indian Coast Guard flew over to check on the island, make sure everyone's okay, but once they flew too close, the tribe attacked with arrows. So they could not land, obviously, but what if you arrived by boat? What would happen? Well, also bad. Back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who was on it. The Sentinelese have lived here for around 60,000 years, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Number 7, Niue Island. Located in Hawaii, Niue Island is quite small, and its population as well is pretty minimal, but why? Where is everyone? This is a beautiful island. Why wouldn't you want to live here? Why do only 170 people live on arguably one of the most beautiful islands in the world? Niue Island has also been referred to as the Forbidden Island, hence why we're including it on our list here today. It was bought back in 1864 by Elizabeth Sinclair, and it's been privately owned since then. So no one knows what's going on, hence the small population. The thing is though, in 1952, the polio epidemic hit the islands and a ban was then put in place permanently. You couldn't leave or enter the island. That's it. Locked down to the extreme. Like an island lockdown, that'd be so scary. Nobody got sick, but now if you want to enter the island, you need to gain special access, which is a lot harder than it may seem. Absolutely no tourists or outsiders allowed. Period. It was sold by Hawaii's king Kamehameha back in 1863 to the Robinson family, but as of 1915, no outsiders again are still allowed in. Some island cult behavior is going on here, I don't know. Whoever lives here does so without plumbing, telephone lines, or Netflix. Impressive. Even today, the island is of course off bounds. The Coast Guard is always patrolling the island too as well. What do you think lies on Niue Island? Top secret government stuff? Probably. Number 6, Heard Island. Have you heard about this island? Heard Island? No? Well, listen up. Right in the middle of Antarctica and Australia, there is this island, Heard Island. The Australian government has made it illegal for anybody to visit it, so if you have some free time and a kayak and some suntan lotion, don't even think about it. Go the other way. You won't make it. So why is this island forbidden? Is this one full of deadly snakes? Maybe, honestly. The myth here surrounding Heard Island is that there's animals we don't even know exist living here. We got some secret hybrid animals. This sounds a lot like Jurassic Park so far. The island itself is quite unique geographically. See, Heard Island is home to 2 volcanoes as well as the tallest mountain in Australia. So there's plenty of space for hybrid animals to hide and be scary. I love the idea of animals getting their own island, honestly. We have enough, I'd say. Time to give 1 or 2 back. Except for Snake Island. That one, we don't want that one. You can keep that one for sure. Number 5, North Brother Island. Located right between Rikers Island and the Bronx, quietly tucked away on the East River, North Brother Island was once home to a hospital back in the 19th century. You may be thinking, a hospital on an island? How inconvenient is this? What's going on? Riverside Hospital was available for patients suffering from yellow fever, smallpox, or tuberculosis. So it was a quarantine zone, essentially. The hospital has since been abandoned. It's now sitting there literally falling to pieces. And the island has been quite active, oddly. A body was found near the island recently. A steamship called the General Slocum crashed on the island. There's also a haunted lighthouse on this island. And they even have what's referred to as Coffin Corner on this island. Yeah, Coffin Corner. I'm all set. I'd rather explore the Bronx than explore this island, honestly. Number 4, Robins Island. Okay, we have a forbidden island and it's not cursed. We have a nice one, dare I say. Here we go. The privately owned Robinson Island is massive and beautiful. It's not made of lava or snakes, it's just sand and trees. Just a good time. And best of all, no humans at all. The 435-acre island sits off the coast of New Suffolk, New York. Many names have come and go when it comes to island ownership here, but as of right now, it's forbidden and it's a nature preserve. I'm okay with that. We can stay away from that one. The owner now is a man named Louis Bacon. He has poured time and money into building the sanctuary, and he fears that if anybody else gets involved, the whole thing will just fail. Honestly, considering our number 1 spot, he's got a point. Aside from that side quest that Mr. Bacon's pulling off, Robins Island is also home to the largest population of turtles in the state. So don't worry, he's not completely alone. It's got a bunch of turtles. Number 3, Diego Garcia Island. An island with an airport. Okay, there's gotta be something good here, right? Located in the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is perhaps one of the most bizarre on this list. Definitely interesting. The island was once a part of the United Kingdom, but in order to settle up a debt in the millions, the UK had to hand it over to the United States. Gee, I wonder what they did with it. Is it a turtle sanctuary? Is it a Forbidden Seed Island Part 2, perhaps? What's the game plan here? What are we doing? Well, today Diego Garcia is a top secret military base. Hence the airport. Although it's forbidden to enter, there's over 600 buildings resting on this island, as well as thousands of military personnel, but again, nobody knows what the island is really hiding, or what it's being used for. Maybe this is where they're keeping the Winter Soldier. Could be. He could punch through anyone. You punch 6,000 people easily. Number 2, Poveglia Island. The small island of Poveglia has taken many lives. When the bubonic plague arrived in 1348, the island then became a quarantine colony, just like our one earlier. So if you had symptoms, you were sent to this island to... yeah, it was a sad reality. Not a lot of solutions back then. Again, in 1630, the Black Death crept in, and once again the center of this island became a mass graveyard. All bad so far. The soil, they say, is 50% human remains at this point. So if you're looking to plant some haunted sunflowers, there you go. There's your soil, weirdo. Today the island is abandoned, rightfully so. It's closed off to both tourists and locals. Hey, now that things are opening up again, what do you say we head to Poveglia Island? Check out some bubonic plague history. No? We're good? Alright, cool. We'll go to Niagara Falls. If its dark history doesn't scare you away, the ghost stories surrounding the island might. In the early 20th century, mentally ill patients were sent to this island, but the doctor that was responsible for curing them for all these treatments, he would actually try these bizarre, insane methods, cruel methods, really. And the doctor himself ended up going mad, and he ended up jumping to his death from the bell tower. The bell tower no longer stands, but the soil is still 50% remains, so either way, ghosts or history, that's a no from me. I would rather go to number 1, Garbage Island. We must finish with this one, the largest island of them all. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Smells good. Smells like the ocean and all the garbage we've thrown into it. It's located in the North Pacific subtropical gyre. There's basically 4 of these large systems just swirling ocean currents, and some of them are chock full of garbage. Pretty disturbing, right? I've heard of the garbage patch before, but I had no idea how large it really was. This trash island is 3 times the size of France. And if that's not big enough for you, it's twice the size of Texas. Someone's like, oh, now I get it. This island is man-made, obviously, and it continues to grow. But it's not all grim, however, for our number 1 spot. There is a team working on reducing that size. The environmental nonprofit Ocean Cleanup has removed around 65,000 pounds of trash. So maybe next time you see this, there'll be only 9 islands. We're hoping. Starting off our list at number 10, Lake Natron. Okay, we got a few bodies of water on this list, and each one is horrible in their own unique way. This is considered one of the most inhospitable areas of the world. The lake's extreme levels of sodium carbonate decahydrate make the water corrosive to human skin and eyes, so you don't want to look at this stuff or touch it, just back away pretty much. But the only animal that you'll see that's bigger than bacteria is a flamingo. Yeah, the protection of this lake is vital for us and also flamingos and wildlife. Save them by not tubing in this lake. Awesome. Number 9, Death Valley. With a name like Death Valley, it's gotta be pretty bad, right? There's a Death Valley in Zelda. That one sucks, I don't know. Death Valley sits on the California-Nevada border. It's known, of course, for its extreme heat. One of the hottest places on Earth, in fact. The only deserts on the planet that come close to the same level of heat here is in the Middle East and Africa, and on peak heat days, you know what I mean? It's like a different planet, Death Valley. It's horrible. Back in July 2018, Death Valley was the hottest place the Earth has ever seen. Broke records. For 4 days in a row, the average temperature went as high as 127 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 52 degrees Celsius. Imagine it's 52 outside. I'm sweating thinking about Death Valley. It feels like it's 52 degrees in that parking lot outside. I don't know why, but it's so hot right now. Number 8, Skeleton Coast. Again, another lovely name right off the hop. This one is not from a Zelda game, not yet at least, but it sits north of Namibia. It reaches from the South Kikine River to the Swakop River. It again lands on the deadly places on Earth list, but this time, why? There's water here, right? We could just cool down if need be, right? While the area, firstly, if its name didn't tip you off, is covered in skeletons. Nothing can survive here due to its harsh climates and toxic water, and you guessed it, human activity. Yeah, we kind of ruined this one as well. Humans tend to make things worse. Who knew? Number 7, Israel Cursed Tomb. Here we go, into the Mummy franchise. Let's do it. A secret tomb was discovered in Israel only a couple months ago. Now, this is the first time a tomb has been found at the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 65 years, so it's quite a big deal. The actual cave itself was discovered a year ago, but these smaller chambers are now being found recently, right? As in like a month or 2 ago, recently. It's exciting on one page, but on the other, it's scary because some tombs are cursed. This one came with a message. It vows to curse anybody who would open said grave. And this message is written in blood red, just to make it more horrible. So yeah, can we not open this one? Maybe? I don't know. Last time we had a black sarcophagus in Egypt, people were sticking their heads in, and then, I don't know, pandemic arrived 2 years later, so let's stop. Number 6, Egyptian tomb. We're all curious about what happens after you die, right? But nobody celebrated the end of your days like the ancient Egyptians. It was beautiful. Some tombs are cursed, others are, nice. Ancient Egyptians would paint doors, they would leave valuables. Any new tomb we discover now provides more hints as to what lies beyond, perhaps. An ancient necropolis was discovered only a few years ago, again in Egypt, and in it contained dozens of coffins and a necklace that holds a message from the afterlife. Nice, now we're talking. We love little spoilers. Give us a hint. What can we expect? What should I wear? What's cover up there? This site is around 2,000 years old, and they're in the process currently of excavating it as we speak. But so far, the tombs and artifacts found, officials think, belong to an ancient priestess. A message from the afterlife is pretty spectacular, but what does it say? Well, we're still waiting to find out, but we're close. We're getting into the right, James Webb's looking up, we're looking down. This is good. I'm terrified either way. Number 5, Chernobyl. Of course, one of the greatest nuclear disasters ever. We have to talk about it. Back on April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl power complex went off due to unstable and low power levels. Reactor 4 had been shut down a day before due to maintenance, and the next day at 1:23 a.m., radioactive debris compiled of fuel and reactor components just rained down over the building. Toxic fumes were carried from the wind, and after just 4 months, 28 workers had passed away due to radiation exposure, and the whole area had to be shut down. Eventually, they had to evacuate over 100,000 residents, and to this day, that zone is a no-go. Reactor 4 will stay highly radioactive for another 20,000 years, yet there's some residents who apparently still live there. Somehow. How terrifying is that? Number 4. The Forbidden City. Of course, we have to mention this one. Located in Beijing, China, the Forbidden City has quite the reputation. I'm never going near this one. This building used to be the Imperial Palace, and of course, like other places on this list, it's not littered with tourists, but this time for unobvious reasons. This building has quite the grim history, so the amount of reports that come in, sightings of demons, there's a lot. Apparently there's a lot of demons just lurking around. The number of ghostly encounters shot up once the palace opened to the public in the 1940s. In many of these cases, visitors would report seeing a ghostly woman dressed in, you guessed it, all white. The classic ghost apparel. More often than not, you can find her ghost wandering the palace at night, weeping. Yeah, tourists say they hear a woman weeping in the hallways. I can't tell if I'm sad or scared. A little bit of both. Number 3. Lake Acid. Not to be confused with Lake Placid, although that one's also pretty bad in its own unique way. The Lake of Acid is in Ethiopia, and since we mentioned super acid earlier, I figured this would be a good one to bring out. It's also referred to as the gateway to hell. The Danakil Depression is made of boiling hot ponds that release chlorine and sulfur gases into the air. So you don't have to look, you don't have to touch, you can just inhale and you're doomed. Just simply standing around this lake can kill you. So where does something like this come from besides, I don't know, science fiction? This is horrible. How does a lake of acid just come to be? What the f? Like, you know what I mean? It's a lake of acid. Can we, get rid of it? This horrifying landscape is the result of 3 continental plates being torn apart. It's part of the East African Rift System. Not 1, but 2 active volcanoes surround the Danakil Depression. Hence the, bubbling magma lurking below the dry landscape. That's what does it. It's one of the hottest places on Earth for a reason. Active hydrothermal ozones aren't new. That's what Yellowstone National Park is, but you need a gas mask to go to this one, so, We're camping over here, we're dying over here. Let's avoid it. Number 2, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe. You've probably heard about this at some point. Don't go here. One of the most forbidden islands in the world, okay? But why? Located in the Bay of Bengal, North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers from India. And while most islands are shrinking, this one actually grew back in 2004. The island actually lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the universe is like, yes, more. The inhabitants on this floating cursed island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world, right? They haven't heard of the new iPhone or any of that. They're completely out of touch. They've been there for thousands of years and they're not going anywhere because, well, we're not trying to get close. There's no sign of agriculture or even fire, yet this tribe has thrived. If we try and get close, they try and drive everybody away. In fact, back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who or what was on it. The Indian government didn't roll up to the beach and start interrogating or arresting locals. Instead, it's now completely forbidden to go to this island. Yeah, just leave them. Let people be. For once in our human lives, please. And finally, number 1, North Brother Island. Located right between Rikers Island and the Bronx, quietly tucked away on the East River, North Brother Island is a very different looking place when it comes to New York. It's quiet. Everywhere else is busy and full of hot dogs and pigeons and people yelling in cabs. This place over here, eerily quiet. North Brother Island was once home to a hospital back in the 19th century. Oh, nice, how helpful is that? You may be thinking a hospital on an island. One, that's pretty inconvenient. Just rowing patients out there, you're like, hang on, buddy. Riverside Hospital was available for patients suffering from yellow fever, smallpox, tuberculosis. It was a quarantine zone, right? Although the hospital has since been abandoned, it's now sitting there just falling apart. Just cursed land. We love that. The island has been quite active though, in a way. A body was found near the island island, a steamship crashed on the island, there's a haunted lighthouse on the island, and they even have what's referred to as Coffin Corner. I thought Coffee Time was bad. Coffin Corner, that's pretty, I'm all set. I'd rather explore the Bronx than explore this island, to be honest with you.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Bodmin Jail. The Bodmin Jail is located in Cornwall, England. This jail opened in 1779, and in its most active days, King George III would hold more than 150 criminals in there. Quite the overcrowded prison of the time, although people have long held the belief that King George III was mad, so I suppose this decision could be the result of this. Apparently, over 100 years, 55 executions took place in Bodmin. A notable execution was a woman named Selina Wadge, whom many have believed that she still haunts the grounds today. Screaming and banging on the walls has been known to be heard at this prison. Now, this prison was closed and abandoned as a prison in 1926, but eventually it was actually turned into a tourist destination, so you can actually visit this prison. But honestly, at your own risk. You may run into the ghost of Selina, and some say she isn't quite as nice as Casper the Friendly Ghost, if you catch my drift. In our number 9 spot, we have the Atlanta Prison Farm. Located in Atlanta, Georgia, this is a prison that was caught on fire in 2009, and the firefighters did not even try to extinguish the flames. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a treasured landmark, that's for sure. The prison is a little different than the others, as it was surrounded by acres of land, and the prisoners would farm their food. This place was known for being overcrowded and having war criminals and people who were either wrongfully imprisoned or imprisoned for minor crimes. After many moons of being shut down and abandoned, eventually this place became a bit of an urban exploration adventure, as people thought it to be haunted, and even ghost hunters would often visit it. But honestly, just looking at the pictures of it, it's just so worn out and it reeks of low vibes that it looks like it would attract ghosts. You are prohibited from visiting this place, so don't even think about it. I am your YouTube mother. Nah, I'm too young. I am your YouTube older sister, and I encourage you to make good choices and not go. Okay? In our number 8 spot, we have the Old Salem Jail. The Old Salem Jail is located, of course, in Salem, Massachusetts. Home of the Hocus Pocus witches, of course. And yes, the town is known for, oh, just a little old thing as, you know, the Salem witch trials. Ever heard of it? Well, if you haven't, Google it. It was quite the historical American event. That town attracts, you know, just the creepiest things. And so it wouldn't be surprising to hear about a jail that was known to be haunted. This jail apparently had stories from it that sounded too gory to be true that people didn't even want to tell them. It closed in 1991, and after being abandoned for a few decades, eventually a hotel brand bought it and turned it into luxury apartment flats. But apparently it doesn't matter how beautiful they make it look, the ghosts from the jail are still around there and people can still hear their cries. One of these days, I'm gonna have to visit these prisons in the hopes that I'll be able to hear these supernatural cries. Not that I like people crying, but I want to hear a ghost. You know you want to too. In our number 7 spot, we have the Holmesburg Prison. This prison has to be the worst abandoned prison in the world. I'm serious when I say that the fact that this existed and such inhumane practices were afoot makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest. The prison is located in Pennsylvania, USA, and it was active from 1896 to 1995. The fact that this prison was still open when I was a kid makes me the most uncomfortable. I think our ability to be compassionate has tripled in the last 25 years. Anyways, this is a jail where the prisoners were essentially boiled alive. I'm not joking. The prison was built out of stone and it had large steam radiators, and the wardens would make the temperature go up to 200 degrees, and some of the prisoners would literally die from the heat. To arguably make it worse, the prisoners eventually became testing subjects for biochemical, pharmaceutical, and dermatological weapons. So yeah, it totally makes sense to hear that people believe it to be deeply haunted. I bet. This is one of the darkest prisons by far. In our number 6 spot, we have the Ararat County Jail. In Ararat, Victoria in Australia, there was once a very known jail, the Ararat County Jail, that is now known for its shrieking cries, specifically from an area of the jail called the J Ward. The jail opened in 1861 and was originally intended as a goldfields prison, but in the 1880s it was turned into a maximum security psychiatric facility for the criminally insane. Not only do people say they still hear the shrieking cries believed to be from the prisoners, but also moans and rapid footsteps are often heard. Apparently when they are heard, it's hard to know that they aren't real, as the footsteps sound so real and human-like. In our number 5 spot, we have the Wyoming Territorial Prison. This prison was built in 1872 and was made to confine the growing number of criminals in the area. But not all went exactly according to plan. People kept escaping. This is wild to me. I didn't realize that any prison had a genuine problem with this. I thought when people escaped it was like a one-off thing. Anyways, yep, people would escape, and they had a bit of an overcrowding issue as well. A famous name from the prison though is a man named Julius Greenwald, who was sentenced for taking the life of his wife. He apparently had a quote-unquote expert hand when it came to rolling cigars, and boy would he smoke a lot of them. Apparently Julius's cigar scent can still be smelt at the prison in the place where he died in 1901. Passing away in 1901 from heart failure, Julius's ghost still lingers about in the place he died. It is said that you can also smell the cigar scent in the corridors leading to where he died. Interesting. Well, smoke and cigar/cigarette scents do tend to linger, so it makes sense. In our number 4 spot, we have the Carabanchel Prison. The Carabanchel Prison, located in Madrid, Spain, was originally constructed by political prisoners after the Spanish Civil War between 1940 to 1944. It was known as one of the biggest prisons in Europe until it was closed down in 1998. The prisoners were made to do slave labor when it was active, and after it was closed, it became known as an abandoned haunted building. In 2008, the Spanish government decided that it needed to be destroyed because no one should go onto the grounds. Probs because it was that haunted, but most likely because it was just a sad part of their history that they want to forget. Apparently a hospital and apartments are now in the area, and it hasn't been confirmed if people ever feel any paranormal activity, but we're gonna say probably. In our number 3 spot, we have the William Porter Reformatory. The William Porter Reformatory is located in Tokachi, South Africa. This is a bit of a disturbing prison because it was not exactly for adults. Most of the prisoners were actually quite young, which honestly makes me ill to think about. They were kept in isolation cells, and for what purpose? Oh, just a racially driven one. To further the separation between the black and white working class community, and to teach the prisoners to not interact and to socially know their place. Thankfully, this horrific place was closed down in 1910, but of course the energy and sadness must still surround the building. Seeing the pictures of this place honestly breaks my heart and makes me the most sad. In our number 2 spot, we have the Old Charleston Jail. The Old Charleston Jail is a jail that was built in 1802 in South Carolina, USA. This is an abandoned place that you may actually want to visit if you're someone who's very into supernatural phenomena, as this is a place that is known for its ghostly encounters. Ooh, yeah, I want to go. This jail was actually home to a very notable prisoner, Lavinia Fisher. Lavinia and her husband, John Fisher, were owners of a Charleston inn called the 6 Mile Wayfarer House, and they were sent to prison as apparently they were luring businessmen into their inn and then killing them and stealing their belongings. They say that her ghost is haunting this jail, and reports of many supernatural noises, smells, and sightings have occurred there. So maybe you don't want to visit this place. Something about this woman's story makes me think she's the type of ghost to want to possess you. But I have a very active imagination, so who knows. If I ever visit, I'ma go straight to a priest and get an exorcism afterwards. That's what I would do. And finally, in our number 1 spot, we have the Moundsville, West Virginia Penitentiary. Yes, of course, I have to have this one on the list. This place is one of the most known prisons of all time. The West Virginia Penitentiary is located, of course, in the state of Virginia, USA, and it is most known for its brutal punishments. It was active from 1876 to 1995, and during that time the prisoners experienced beatings so bad that some passed away from them. They also experienced electrocution, and yes, they also practiced hanging the prisoners for a very long time as well. The prison was also known for having many escapees and causing riots. The violence and the inhumane practices were inevitably what led to it being shut down. Many people believe the prison to be extremely haunted, so it is not advised to go and visit if you are fearful of seeing a ghost.